Okay, HR 1 was signed last week, July 4th, by President Trump. It's also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. Here are some of the things it does, but before that, there will be no political commentary about whether this is a good bill or bad bill. We're just telling you the facts. So it's made the 2017 tax rate cuts permanent. This includes lower brackets for most filers. Had it not passed and had nothing been done, tax rates would have gone up in 2026 for most taxpayers. State and local tax deduction, currently capped at $10,000, was raised to $40,000 for taxpayers with incomes under $500,000. There are new deductions for tips, overtime, and auto loan interest. There is an expanded standard and child tax credits. And there are so-called Trump accounts, also known as MAGA savings accounts. Social Security deduction also will help folks. Okay, let's go over what this looks like. Okay, up to, by the way, these thresholds are indexed for 2025 like inflation, plus adjusted levers. Don't take them as something to take to the bank. See your tax professional. Okay, currently, up to $11,000, you pay 10%. Had HR 1 not passed in the sunset next year, you'd be paying 15%. Now under HR 1, you're still at 10%. Just about all of the tax rates are going to remain the same going into 2026 as a result. But as you can see, had it not passed, there's a whole bunch of rates that would have gone up, except for the 231K to 578K would have sunsetted and gone to 33% up to about $416,000, and it's 35%. It stays at 35%. Over 578,000, 37% would have gone to 39.6. The marriage penalty would have returned had HR 1 not passed. Okay, a few other significant differences. If the sunset had happened, standard deduction for singles would have dropped to $6,500 about, and under HR 1 it goes to $14,000. However, if it had sunset, you would have had as a single a little over $4,000 personal exemption. Under HR 1 you don't get one, but adding the numbers up under HR 1 it looks like you did better, because instead of a little over $10,500, you have over $14,000 before they start taxing you. Child tax credit would have dropped to $1,000. Now it stays at $2,000. Actually, it's going to be a little higher. SALT deduction. This is the one place where if it's sunset, some people would have done really well, because you would have been able to deduct an unlimited amount of SALT deduction, whereas there's a temporary boost from $10,000 to $40,000. The marriage penalty would have returned, and under HR 1, it is eliminated. Okay, so I'll start with state and local tax deduction will be referred to as the SALT deduction. Like I said before, deduction was unlimited before the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, it was limited to $10,000 through the end of this year. Under HR 1, it's temporarily raised to $40,000 next year for a few years. Tips, overtime, and auto loan interest. Currently, you got to pay taxes on tips and overtime. You also receive no deduction for interest on an auto loan. Excuse me. If you receive tips as part of your income, an above the line deduction of reported cash tips of up to $25,000 is allowed. There's a phase out beginning at a modified adjusted gross income, which I'll refer to as the MAGI, of $150,000 if you're single, $300,000 if you're married filing jointly. It's got to be in an eligible occupation that's customarily tipped. Only cash tips are considered. So the IRS is expected to release a list of customarily tipped occupations for this. I'm assuming waiters and waitresses and Other people that normally get tips, probably if you're an attorney and you get a tip, it's probably not going to be exempt. And it's only cash tips. So if somebody gives their waiter a car as a tip, that's not going to be considered two either, I think. Overtime, above the line deduction, 12,500 for individuals and 25,000 for joint filers. The phase out thresholds are identical to the tips. Auto loan interest deduction. Above the line deduction can deduct up to $10,000 a year in interest cost. Phase out at an AGI of 100,000 single and 200,000 married filing jointly, and the vehicle's got to be American made. Now, I keep saying the above the line deduction. Here's where it's significant to you. If you don't itemize, you still get this deduction. So if you take standard deduction, you get to write off some of your tips and some of your overtime if it's applicable. By the way, the IRS is also going to make a list of roles for overtime, what counts. Okay, expanded standard and child tax credits. Standard deduction under the bill raises to 31,500 from 27,000. Those 65 and older get an extra deduction of $6,000 per individual. Starts phasing out at a MAGI of 75,000 for singles and 150,000 for married filing jointly. These are in effect from 2026 to 2028. The child tax credit is raised to 2,200 and it's indexed for inflation, effective 2025 onward. It remains refundable up to $1,400 per year, but that amount is indexed for inflation. Phase out begins at $200,000 for singles, $400,000 for married couples. The MAGA savings accounts. These are tax advantage brokerage style savings accounts for children born between January 1 of 2024 and December 31st of 2028. The government will grant a $1,000 deposit for each eligible newborn. Parents and others can contribute up to $5,000 per year indexed for inflation. Funds must be invested in a diversified U.S. equity index fund. The growth is tax deferred until withdrawal. You can't pull it out before the minor turns 18. At 18, the funds can be used for education, disability, first-time home purchase, or an entrepreneurial startup. At age 30, funds are accessible for any purpose. Qualified withdrawals are taxed at capital gains rates, and which means you'll pay less taxes if it's for one of those things listed next to age 18. And if you pull it out at age 30 for something else, it's whatever your income tax rate is at the time. Social Security deduction enhancement. There's a $6,000 deduction on singles age 65 plus and $12,000 on marrieds if both are 65 plus. Your age is determined whatever the last day of the year is. So somebody who's born on January 2nd gets the same deal as somebody born that same year, December 31st. It applies to all income, not just Social Security, when determining adjusted gross income. It begins phasing out at a MAGI of 75,000 for singles and 150,000 for married filing jointly, like one of the others, effective from 2026 to 2028. Whether you support this law or not, it's certain there are changes that may need to be incorporated in your plan. If you don't have a plan, you should get one to be able to take advantage of the provisions of this law. This is not tax advice because, number one, I'm not a qualified tax professional yet, and the provisions will be ironed out in the fullness of time. Always consult with your tax professional prior to taking action. Once you graduate, be it from welding school, engineering school, or law school, you're going to need a different plan for each of these stages that's tailored to your individual situation. During your working years, am I saving enough and is it in the right place? When you're on the glide path to retirement, which I define as the last 10 years prior to retirement, will the USS retirement be shipshape on the appointed day? Retirement, big important question. How do I avoid running out of money before I run out of life? Legacy, does what I worked hard for get to where I want it to when I'm finished with my retirement? I can be reached at herweyerfinancial.com. I do in-person Zoom and phone appointments. I am licensed and registered across several states and can easily add states if there's a need. If you'd like to schedule an appointment, you can click on the schedule an appointment button on the upper right-hand corner of my website. Want to see more videos like this? Go to my website and click on the YouTube channel button. It's the red one. If your friends want more information, they can follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. And please like and subscribe my YouTube channel. For those who prefer the good old-fashioned telephone, 518-631-2569. Do not text that number. We'll both be sad because I won't get it. There's a separate texting number there. Opinions voiced in this material for general information only, not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual.